Okay, so you probably think making great comedy, the stuff that really hits, is this kind of fun, breezy thing.
Yeah, like it just pops out fully formed.
Exactly. But this deep dive, it's going to maybe flip that idea on its head. Welcome to the deep dive.
We're looking at this really long, super honest conversation between two pretty big comedians.
Right.
And it gets into the sheer mental, emotional weight you need, not just to, write a good joke, but just to survive making and releasing it today.
With all the online stuff, the scrutiny.
Totally. The media landscape is just intense, hyper-connected, often super critical.
So our mission here is to pull out what these guys shared about, well, being really vulnerable, handling that constant media glare, and also dealing with this weird shift to everything being digital, smart, everything.
That's how isolating that can actually feel sometimes.
Let's dig in. What does it actually cost to be funny right now? All right, let's start at the peak pressure point, the creative crucible, taping a big special. Andrew Santino talked about the stress for his Hulu special, White Noise.
Yeah, and the internal stuff he described was, wow, pretty intense.
He mentioned something really surprising about preparing for it.
He did. He actually decided deliberately to stop taking his antidepressant medication.
Really? Wow.
Because he felt he needed full access to his emotions, that depth, the vulnerability. He thought it was crucial for the story he was telling in the special.
Huh. So wait, trying to be more authentic, more raw for the art?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of backfired when he actually had to perform. Is that common?
It seems like it can be, yeah. He admitted that because he wasn't medicated, the pressure, it just overwhelmed him. So much so that he actually had trouble remembering his own jokes. The vulnerability he was aiming for almost paralyzed him right when he needed to be sharpest.
Man, and that's just the internal battle. He also talked about major external stuff hitting him at the same time.
Exactly. The paranoia was real. He mentioned an old DHS video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it resurfaced, taking an old immigration joke completely out of context, and boom, instant online hate pile-on. And he mentioned, how volatile things felt because of other recent stuff, like the whole Charlie Kirk controversy. It made him genuinely scared, paranoid about who was even in the audience that night.
Wow. Okay, so internal chaos, external threats.
Right.
And then you layer on the actual production itself.
Right. He used that phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Which isn't just about, extra people standing around.
No, it's about that modern production thing where every single tiny element gets overanalyzed, second-guessed.
And that crushing anxiety, it actually showed up physically for him right before he went on.
Oh, yeah. His body just reacted. He said he got severe dry mouth the second he stepped on stage.
Whoa.
It's that physical sign of the massive pressure trying to capture something that feels loose and live in this one rigid, kind of overproduced moment.
It really draws a line between live stand-up and taping a special, doesn't it?
Huge difference. Live comedy, they called it straight from the tap. Like drinking from a hose, free-flowing, messy, maybe.
But a special taping. It's this one shot. Everything has to be perfect. Santino admitted, even on the second to last show before the final taping.
He was changing 10 different things.
Yeah, because the self-doubt was just eating him up.
That doubt is like a physical thing almost. He used a sports analogy, right? Like an NFL player.
Oh, yeah, who drops the ball before they cross the goal line.
Exactly, because he couldn't fully commit to the punchline, always pulling back, second-guessing.
And that's the stuff, the deep mental struggle that we as the audience we'd never see it. Nope.
You get the polished 30 minutes, maybe an hour.
Right. You don't see the breakdown.
Yeah.
The other comedian in the conversation, Theo, mentioned taping his own special.
And the pressure was so intense, he just started bawling in the green room after.
Not like tears of joy either.
No, pure relief, just that the crushing weight was finally off.
So maybe the takeaway for you listening is, what looks effortless on stage often takes this enormous, sometimes really destructive mental effort behind the scenes.
Absolutely. When you mix that taking pressure with deep personal vulnerability, the emotional cost is huge.
Yeah.
And usually invisible.
And that paranoia, that pressure, it doesn't just vanish when the taping wraps, right? It kind of bleeds into how the media treats everything, which brings us to the next bit.
Right. So moving off the stage itself, you see how fast even something totally harmless, like a post-show moment, can get twisted.
Yeah, there was a video of one of them just talking to fans after the show.
Exactly, just chatting. But online, it got immediately spun, misconstrued, turned into some kind of manufactured drama.
It's textbook negativity machine stuff. They use the term bottom feeders for those clickbait websites.
Yeah, and it's true. They don't care about the reality. They're not going to run the headline, "Great time with Theo and his friends at the country bar with Glenny Balls." That doesn't get clicks.
Nope. They need conflict, division. Clicks are king.
And what that does is it forces creators, performers, anyone in the public eye, really, to actively manage where they put their mental energy.
You have to consciously choose not to feed that machine.
Right. Refuse to give oxygen to the gossip, the baseless controversies. It's like a defense mechanism you have to build just to stay sane in this flood of information.
And that scrutiny machine, man, it loves to turn inward, doesn't it? Which got them talking about the contradictions in criticism, specifically the backlash some comedians got for doing that festival in Riyadh.
Yeah, that became a big flashpoint.
Yeah.
Lots of internal debate in the comedy world. Should be clear, we're just reporting on the discussion they had.
Right, no sides taken here.
So Jimmy Carr's take was mentioned, and it was kind of interesting. He argued that maybe the focus should be less on a country's past and more on where it seems to be going.
Looking at perceived progress, attempts at growth, rather than just historical judgment.
Yeah. Which then connects to this bigger idea the hosts kept coming back to.
That we're all basically walking contradictions.
Exactly. People throwing stones, taking the absolute moral high ground. They often kind of ignore their own role in, well, problematic systems.
Think about it, right?
Yeah.
Are you maybe criticizing something while typing on a smartphone made with lithium mined under questionable conditions?
Or driving a car that guzzles gas. It just highlights how hard, maybe impossible it is to be perfectly pure, ethically speaking, in our interconnected world.
You kind of have to acknowledge the dirt on your own hands before pointing fingers everywhere else.
And the danger, they warned, is this infighting, this constant internal criticism within creative communities.
It just weakens everyone, makes a tough job even harder.
Totally destructive, prevents any kind of real solidarity.
Okay, so let's take that theme, the external pressure, the judgment, and kind of shift it into our physical space. Because the digital judgment is starting to feel way more real, more invasive. Let's talk about smart tech.
Yeah, this is where it gets kind of wild. The idea that tech built for convenience is actually becoming this source of intrusion, even control.
The smart bed example was nuts.
Right, the 8 Sleep Pod. These things cost like over $2,000. Smart mattress covers. Very. But then there was that big AWS outage. The Amazon Web Services cloud went down. And because these beds didn't have an offline mode,
Oh, no.
owners found their beds stuck, like stuck on super high heat settings or inflated in odd positions. Your comfort, your sleep, your expensive gadget, completely dependent on the cloud working perfectly.
That loss of basic local control, scary.
And it escalates, right? They talked about worries over controlling movement, referencing Craig Newert's warnings about cars being potentially hijacked remotely.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And then the kind of absurd extension of that, the fear that eventually, like, a software update could force your car to just drive you to the doctor for some mandatory digital check-in.
Technology going from helpful suggestion to actual coercion. Wow. But maybe the peak example, the most unsettling one, the smart toilet.
Oh God, the smart toilet.
Yeah. Bringing the invasion of privacy right into the bathroom.
We're talking about the Kohler Dakota, about $600. It clamps onto your toilet rim
Okay.
and points an optical sensor down at your excretions and secretions
It what?
to analyze your health data. And guess what? This incredibly intimate surveillance, it requires a yearly subscription fee.
Of course it does. How much?
Somewhere between $70 and $156 a year.
To have my output scanned. The immediate fear is just visceral, right? Who owns that data is my, quote, thick piss and root beer aftermath, as they put it.
Is that being uploaded somewhere, analyzed, sold?
It's just too much.
Yeah.
And that feeling, that constant intrusion and analysis, it drives this deep need for something real, something analog.
Absolutely. Which leads perfectly into that story about the failed dating attempt. It shows how modern life, even in small ways, makes genuine human connection really awkward and difficult.
Right, he was on a plane, trying to connect with a flight attendant.
Yeah, crowded flight, small space. He wasn't even trying for a phone number, just wanted to give her like half his email address on a napkin, trying to be low-key.
But everything conspired against him. The anxiety, people waiting, the pen barely worked.
He got so flustered he only managed to scribble down literally half of an email address. Like incomplete.
Oh, man.
And then adding to the modern friction, this super anxious woman behind him in the restroom line, just radiating pressure.
The joke about her maybe wanting to cook bok choy soup in the sink.
Yeah. That whole little scene, it just captures how hard it is to have a natural, spontaneous spark when the environment is either too cramped, too rushed, or weirdly too quiet and exposed.
Yeah, no room for error, no room for just being human.
Exactly. And that constant difficulty, that friction, it really fuels this search for comfort in the real world, in community.
The host talked about needing those simple analog resets, just drinking a whole pot of coffee, playing with the dog in the morning, grounding yourself,
And being intentional about social connection, like only drinking socially. He mentioned refusing to just have a beer alone at home. It has to be with people.
actively seeking out connection.
Yeah, and finding it in interesting places. He mentioned hanging out with the Vanderbilt football team, that young, fun energy.
But also finding real comfort with older couples, though, empty nesters,
Right, whose kids are grown, whose priorities have shifted away from that intense family building phase. There's a different kind of peace there, maybe?
which suggests this really interesting shift in adult goals, maybe. The source talked about moving away from, like, pining for his own kids.
And reframing it, accepting that his children now are his community, his charitable work.
He mentioned that Homer's event, specifically for the Southern California Special Olympics, it's a shift towards pouring energy into uplifting others, not just personal or family goals.
And that connects right back to the main tension we've been exploring, doesn't it? This deep human craving for realness, connection, actual community.
Constantly being pushed against, judged, disrupted by the synthetic world of online media and invasive tech.
Yeah.
The whole conversation really ends on this note of profound humility, actually.
Yeah, that shared idea they kept circling back to. We're all just little tiny kids in a big adult shell.
Pretending we know what's going on.
Everyone's kind of broken. Everyone's just trying to figure it out. And realizing that should lead to more empathy, more kindness, right?
Absolutely. Which sets up their final, really powerful analogy. It uses a simple image.
The arcade coin pusher game?
Yeah, you know the one? Put the quarters in, the shelf slides, pushes coins. You're hoping for that big cascade over the edge.
Right. And the insight they pulled from that is life is kind of like constantly putting quarters into that machine.
Doing good things, helping others, building community.
Even if you never get that full flush of coins yourself, you might not see the direct payoff, the big personal success you were hoping for.
But knowing that you're loading that machine up, that your efforts will eventually benefit others, the community, maybe someone down the line, that's the real reward.
It completely shifts the focus, doesn't it?
Right.
Away from the instant gratification, the individual digital win, towards the long-term value of just contributing selflessly.
Yeah, putting something good into the world for its own sake.
A really fitting and kind of provocative thought to leave you with as you navigate all this stuff. The pressures, the contradictions, the tech in your own life.
Definitely something to chew on.
Uh.
And a great place to wrap up our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in.